everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dear Dietitian, where you ask questions and we answer them. Today we have a special guest, Cath, and she is a dietitian and diabetes educator, so we've got some questions related to that, but I'll let her give a little bio about herself before we get started.
So I'm Cath, Dietitian Diabetes Educator. I did my dietetics course about 7 years ago in Wagga Wagga, and I did my diabetes education course, say about 4 years ago. I wanted to do the diabetes education as well because during my work in Bundaberg I was seeing quite a lot of clients who had diabetes, so I thought it would be another good tool to use, and I was able to give more information to my clients and get more out of consults.
And what do you do now?
And so now I work for Fuel Life and Correct Nutrition, of course, as a dietitian and diabetes educator, and I also manage some staff as well, so in Brisbane and Adelaide.
Yep. All right, so question. Well, actually, there is a question that was somewhere on diabetes. Somewhere in one of these. Oh, shouldn't have that on. All right, so for those people maybe thinking about, so maybe they're dietitians and they're thinking about being a diabetes educator, is there any kind of tips that you would give them around doing that, or whether or not they should? Like, is there something is it something you really need to be passionate about to do, or is it just a good add-on? What do you think?
I think that you do need to have a passion in diabetes. Of course, if you're seeing clients and you're bringing across that you don't really know what you're talking about, or
you don't care.
What is the client going to gain from seeing you? So yes, I think you do need to have a passion about it. It is quite a good add-on with dietitian because of course a lot of education for diabetes is around diet as well. So, as a dietitian, we're trained in chronic disease management, so always a good add-on there as well.
So in terms of if people are going to do a course, how long does it usually take?
Okay, so the course is a year part-time, so there's 4 subjects. There's multiple unis in Australia that will offer it. I did the graduate certificate of diabetes education through Curtin Uni, and it was all online, which is quite handy, so I still worked full-time, and there was just a 2-week placement.
Can you do it full-time? Or it has to be
part-time?
You
can do it full-time, and then it's just 6 months.
Mint.
I found it quite...
Then you got to do like a year.
Oh yeah, so then to be actually credentialed diabetes educator, so Medicare and DVA will only recognise credentialed DEs, so you can only claim the rebate if you are a CDE. So you have to do, I think it's minimum 6, at least 12 months of mentoring, so quite similar to the DAA. And then there's the process of making sure that you've met all your CPD hours and your credentialing requirements to then apply to be a CDE.
Yeah, I know a couple of dietitians early on who applied for jobs with me, so they were diabetes educators. And then when I said, are you a credentialed diabetes educator, they didn't actually know the difference. So I don't know why the unis don't really tell people that you need to do a lot of. It's like there's a lot of hours. It's like over 1,000.
Yeah, so you've got to do at least 1,000 hours for diabetes education.
Yeah, not just seeing clients diabetes.
Yeah. So you, as a dietitian, you can log those hours during your consults with clients that have diabetes. It can also be group education sessions. It could be volunteering at, say, a diabetes camp as well. Expos.
Yeah. Cool. All right, I've got a clinical question. All right, so, it's not really hard. It's just around being a dietitian, really. Like, early on in my career, I kind of struggled around, because as a dietitian, you learn a little bit about insulin and medications and that type of stuff. But in terms of us titrating insulin or changing it, then we're just like, no.
Mm-hmm.
But like, at what point, like, if you are seeing a client and you're getting really good results and lost a lot of weight, then decreased carbohydrate load, but then they're starting to get hypos, like, where do you go to from there as a dietitian versus... Yeah.
So as a dietitian, you would make sure you are giving the client education around hypo treatment and management. And then you need to be making sure that you are referring on to a diabetes educator. So recommending it to the GP if they haven't been seeing someone. So making sure.
What if the GP doesn't want to change the insulin?
Seeing an educator. So if they don't, well,
just get another opinion. As in, like, the client. So if the client went to the GP and the GP is like, no, not decreasing insulin, you've got diabetes.
Well, I would be making sure, asking the client to do a few more blood glucose tests at home. So if it's before meals or at least the 2 hours after. So trying to identify where the hypos are. And so then they've got some evidence to show that the reason why we need to reduce the insulin, or even asking the client simple questions about their insulin injection technique. So, simple questions are they reusing needles? Where are they injecting? Do they have favourite sites? Because if there's any answers that they are reusing needles, they're using the same site over and over, that can be flags of why they might be hypoing as well. And then that's also a good reason why to then refer on to a diabetes educator who can give them a refresher of their technique. Because you never know, they might not have been actually shown when they started on insulin how to actually do a proper injection.
I've had clients who've been put on insulin and never saw a diabetes educator. Like, at all. It's like, I just got given insulin, started injecting.
So that's one of my first things that I always check. When a client walks in and they're on insulin, I will go straight to their injection technique before touching their diet.
As a diabetes educator, obviously.
So that's why it is a good thing to have. So, as a dietitian, we'll be looking at their carbohydrate distribution, GI amounts, but then as an educator, I always go through the technique first, because if that's, not correct, that can have quite a fluctuation, and then we get that right, and then we look at the diet.
Cool. All right, so do you have any common kind of things that you think dietitians should know, when they're working with people with diabetes, that maybe something that you've seen when managing staff or just seeing clients yourself, like that you feel like maybe clients have seen other dietitians before, like something that dietitians miss that you think is really integral, or even as a diabetes educator, what you would want from, if you were just seeing them as a diabetes educator and not a dietitian, what you would want from that dietitian? Does that make sense?
So probably good education around carbohydrates and portions, especially for those that are on insulin. Or if we're seeing clients with type 1 diabetes, making sure that they've got good carbohydrate counting skills.
All right, so carbohydrate counting. Daphne, is that like 10 grams? And then
so making sure that you're sticking to the right. So like in England, where Daphne started off, that's 10 grams, whereas in Australia it's 15.
And then there's still like people that do.
So some people will count to the gram and dose, depending on that. Others will dose and exchanges. So making sure the dietitian's aware
of what's happening.
So probably good like carbohydrate counting skills. Because I think back when I did my course, we really didn't do too much on diabetes. I know we did a little bit in my placement, and we had to pretend that we had diabetes, so we had to be counting all our carbs. So that was probably our crash course. So I think it's probably like quite a good self.
Yeah, I kind of did that with every disease that we did though. Like we just had like one little snippet of class. It was never like, all right, let's do diabetes, let's do.
And then in my second job, I kind of just got thrown into it, so because everyone had diabetes nearly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you got good. And you started liking it.
And I liked it. Yeah.
Cool.